Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast. This week, me and Dan, little change of plan. So if you listened to last week's episode with Jimmy Guy, we said at the end of it, we've got another Olympic qualified guest on the podcast. Now that's still planned. That is coming on next week's show. But with the Aquatics GB European Championship squad announcement that happened yesterday, so if you're listening to this, Thursday the 2nd of May, we thought me and Dan would take a little bit of a look through the team who are heading to Belgrade later on this summer, because there's some really exciting swimmers part of this squad.
Yeah, and there's only 10 of them as well, which I think is really quite interesting. Well, 10 pool swimmers, and then you've got the 3 open water swimmers as well, which I think we'll touch upon later. But actually, quite interesting. Very small squad, and actually I think the age is probably the more interesting thing here, because LEN under 23s, they kind of like that idea, didn't it, last year? And I think that's kind of treating it the same sort of way. But all of these guys, I think, going off the top of my head here, I think they're all 21 and under. So it's a really young squad. Yeah,
it's a really exciting squad. Like, all of these swimmers performed really well at trials, so they all deserve their selection to a senior team. And obviously, with the Olympics this summer, that's like the one team that everyone gets to. So it's kind of nice that even though they didn't get their Olympic goal, there's still a massive racing opportunity for them, because, well, it's a European Championships. There are potentially, we don't know this, it's not confirmed, but there's swimmers like Milak's going to be there, Sjostrom could be there. Potentially, they're going to be racing against world-class swimmers, which is only going to help their development in the sport further.
Well, we've always said that British Swimming before, and now Aquatics GB, have never really taken swimmers for the experience. And actually, it seems they've turned a slight new leaf based on this, which I think is a good thing. Yeah,
it's a commitment to giving these like transitioning swimmers, like from the junior to the senior age group, like that exposure to big international competitions. So when they get called upon to perform at an Olympics or a World Championships, it isn't their first experience. I think they're trying to remove that, like, this is the first time you're racing a major event.
And the amount of times we've spoken to swimmers on the podcast and they said the transition from that age group to the senior squad is so difficult. So if more opportunities like this present themselves, I mean, I think these 10 swimmers are going to absolutely love this, to be on the international team at the European Championships with the names that potentially could be racing. This is a bit of a golden chance in terms of gaining experience. So I think they're going to grab it with both hands. And hopefully this continues for a few more years. I know it's slightly different with Olympic year, but hopefully it goes on in the future as well.
Yeah, Aquatics GB have always sent a lot of swimmers to European champs, actually. It has been the one experience building meet and like the stepping stone for a lot of the guys that you're seeing at the Olympics. So when is European Championships? So it's happening in Belgrade later this summer between the 10th and the 23rd of June is the whole competition. The swimming is happening in the last week of that. Which is actually a bit weird. It usually happens in the first week, but they flipped it around this time. Why are we not seeing the Olympic swimmers at this event? Well, their focus is Paris, like, quite clearly. And there's actually a fairly major competition that I'm pretty sure we're going to see them at, which is Sette Colli in Rome, which clashes directly with this. So I'm pretty certain, we've spoken to a fair few of the swimmers who are heading to the Olympics. They're going to Sette Colli as their warm-up meet rather than a long, I think this is like a 6-day competition for European Championships. It's a long weekend in Rome instead, which is racing outdoors in a very fast pool. That's their preparation that has been picked for a long way out, I presume. This is what they did last summer. They trialed it, didn't they?
Yeah, I think Sette Colli is now a major meet on the calendar for these top swimmers. One, because the Rome pool is absolutely rapid, get to race outside, be in the sun. I think the coaches are going to love it because they're going to get a suntan on the side of the pool. But yes, I think that's the main meets that these guys are going to do. Europeans is...
I think Europeans has always been like secondary to Sette Colli in the minds of Aquatics GB. In terms of Olympic preparations, like if the Olympics weren't there and Europeans was the only competition this summer, of course they'd send different swimmers to Europeans. But actually, if the Olympics weren't there, we wouldn't be having this Sette Colli Olympic champs clash, would we?
Well, no, exactly. No, Sette Colli is always the way it is every year. The dates kind of pretty much always stay the same, don't they? It's just because it's Olympic year, it's when it all mishmashes up. I mean, take, for example, World Champs was back in February. Like, that's rare.
Weird.
So
Well,
it's slightly
it's
strange.
Olympic,
but I suspect, we don't know for sure, but I suspect most of the Olympic squad will go to Sette Colli. Obviously not going to Europeans, as we're going to go through the swimmers that are going now.
Yes, so we've got 10 swimmers to go through. Before we get into it, like you said at the start, it's pretty much all under 21s. So it's why you're not seeing the likes of like Brodie Williams, who didn't make the Olympic team. It's why he's not going. I think Greg Butler as well. And before we get the questions in the comments on YouTube, why is Amelie Bloxis not picked in that like situation? Well, there's really only so much time a 14, 15-year-old can take out of school. And I would have thought the competition she's targeting this summer is European Juniors, which happen 2 weeks after this. Or maybe not even 2 weeks, it's like 10 days after. They start on the 2nd to the 7th of July, which is more than likely her target competition if we're not seeing her.
I would have thought so, and that's pretty much the start of summer holidays, roughly speaking, isn't it? They might like a couple of weeks away from breaking up. But yeah, I think you're probably right, actually. There's only so much amount of time she can get off school, especially when you go into that sort of 15-year-old age group where GCSEs are now starting to take priority, and rightly so, obviously. But other swimmers, like you mentioned, Greg Butler, Brodie Williams, I think the aim for Aquatics GB, by the looks of it, looks to take a very young, experience building squad. And I think that's really the aim here. And I'm not even sure if Brodie was given the opportunity, whether he would race it anyway. I don't know. We haven't actually spoken to him, but that would be my opinion anyway.
Well, we did. I spoke to him after Olympic trials, and he just said he's going to take some time now just to rest and see what happens.
Well, I think that's the right thing to do. Yeah.
Okay, so this squad then, 10 swimmers. They are Fleur Lewis, Lucy Grieve, Holly McGill, Calvin Fry, Alex Painter, Josh Gammon, Ed Mildred, Jack Skerry, Matthew Ward, and Leah Schlosshan. So some really, really exciting names on there. We've had a few of them on this podcast before. In fact, we've had more than a few of them on this podcast before. So let's run through. Well, let's give them all a little bit of time here. We've got time on this podcast to do that. So Fleur Lewis is the first name. So out of this list, she is probably the more well-known swimmer, probably to our listeners, because she got 2 second places at Olympic trials, British champs. She set a British record earlier this year.
She did.
End of last year. She's a very, very good swimmer, and she's going to get the chance to race the 800, the 1500, maybe even the 400 when it gets to a major competition. And she's still only 21 years old, so this is massive, massive experience for her as she continues what is a very good trajectory in distance swimming.
Yeah, I think we spoke to Andy Manley, and they're still experimenting with how they're training. They went to altitude, so did Toby Robinson before trials, and I think, speaking to Fleur, she wanted to do better. She wanted faster times, which I think probably might be... I mean, she was on PB, give or take, but when you compare it to what Toby was doing, and he was hitting... I think 10 PBs, second PBs, big PBs. I think that's what she was after as well. So I think this is a good chance to put things right, I think.
Yeah, I'm glad she's got another competition to back up after trials.
Yeah, definitely.
It wasn't by any means a bad trials for her. Really.
It wasn't.
I think she was just aiming for the stars.
Yeah, well, that's just it. The nomination time was obviously very difficult.
It's really difficult, yeah.
The tactic when speaking to Andy was very much, you've got to go out quite strong to try and be underneath the pace setting that you've got as duty at the time, and then try and hold on. But yeah, it's a very hard time to hit. But I'm very glad that she's got another chance internationally as well to try and race against, we don't know who's racing it just yet, but someone like Quadrella, who's right up there in the world. If she can kind of compete with her, then
I wonder if Quadrella will be at Sette Colli, which is probably her home pool.
Well, that's just
you never know.
Again, no idea who's racing it just yet. But if she is, then that's a good person to kind of gauge where she's at,
So 2 other swimmers that I'm really interested to see at this meet are the 2 Sterling girls. So Sterling at British champs. Oh, were they the standout club? I think
I probably
squad. Yeah. So they ended up with 7 going to the Olympic Games, and you've got 2 more heading to European champs now in Lucy Grieve and Holly McGill. Both really making moves all year long.
Very exciting.
Lucy Grieve had an incredible short course season, so I'm really looking forward to her swimming the 100 fly. Whether she swims the 200 as well, I'm not too sure, but I mean, she was like top 5 in that at trials.
Yeah.
So, like, if you think at trials she swam a 212,
Yeah, she's still more, for me, she's a bit more of a sprinter. She's got that sort of early speed in the 100. Maybe she will do the 200 fly again for a bit of experience gaining. Yeah. Who knows? But the 100 for me is her number one event, I would say, yeah.
So am I right in saying that actually it's, for anything 200 and below at European Champs, is semi-finals as well as finals? So when you say, like, Lucy Grieve's going to get that experience, she's going to get the experience of racing through the rounds, which is really rare in... Well, senior international swimming until you get to an Olympics.
Until it's Worlds and Olympics, obviously, yeah. So I think that's obviously very good, and the aim for all of these girls and guys is to obviously get quicker through the rounds.
Yeah.
And that's obviously a main aim for the top elite swimmers. But yeah, I think obviously it's not going to really affect us, but I think usually a European rule is that you can take swimmers and put like 4 swimmers in an event.
4 in heats, but only 2 can go through.
But only 2 can qualify. So that's not going to affect us. We've only got 10 swimming in total.
Yeah, but you say that. The men's 100 free is going to be affected by that. 100%. Because you've got Calvin, Alex, Ed Mildred.
Yeah, okay, maybe. Yeah, I could be wrong on that. That might be the only event. Maybe 100 fly for the guys.
No, I think
if Calvin
might race the 100 as well.
Yeah,
there
you got maybe potentially. Yeah, but either way, going back to the point, I think it's good to get experience through the rounds against top opposition that could potentially be there. Yeah.
Yeah, and Lucy Grieve. Sorry, getting back to the 2 Stirling swimmers with tangents hard here. I think it's probably forgotten at Champs she came second in the 100 fly.
She did.
58.3. Yeah. She beat Laura Stevens to come second. So there is massive potential there, and that is certainly a spot which is wide open in British swimming. Yeah, Kiana McInnes is the one going for that medley relay, but actually no one got the qualifying standard.
No, I mean, that time that Lucy went was only 0.4 off Kiana, I think, in the end. So it's actually not a million miles away. And I think the 100 fly in this country is getting deeper. It's just not quite up to sort of international standards, I suppose. So if she can eventually, potentially, pip Kiana McInnes to a spot on the team, then she's got the doors are all open, especially for the medley relay as well. So, yeah.
Now, the other Stirling swimmer, Holly McGill, for me, was incredibly close to actually making the team for the Olympics in the 2-back. A third in a 2:09.1, and like
that's under the time, wasn't it? If I remember right. Well, very close anyway.
No, the time was 2:08 something.
I can't remember now, but it was close. It was there or thereabouts. Yeah,
it was 2:08, and you'll actually hear our conversation next week with Honey Osrin. So there's a tease. If you're listening to this, the Olympic guest next week is Honey Osrin. You actually hear that breaking that 2:10 mark in 200 back is a massive deal. So for Holly to do that after her first full season at Stirling just shows like the progress her and the whole of the squad has made in the course of 2024.
Yeah, I think the 200 back is probably the standout event. I know she did the 100 as well as. Probably needs to bring that time down if you're going to sort of catapult yourself into that sort of international or top echelon of 100 backstrokers in this country. But a 209.1 is actually extremely solid. We've always said on the international stage, if you can go like a 208 200 backstroke, you're there or thereabouts Olympic final.
You'll make a final.
Yeah, and she's only like a second off. So
she very well could win gold at this meet in the 2-back.
Quite possibly, yeah. I mean, again, because you've got, let's say, the top 2 swimmers are Kaylee and Reagan. They're obviously not European. So who else is there?
The European's Panziero, who's probably racing Sette Colli because she's Italian.
Exactly. She's got a chance to become European champion. How amazing is that? So, yeah, I mean, that'd be incredible. Maybe we should get her on, actually, with that.
Well, I'd love to just... We've been trying to sort out something to understand a little bit more of what's gone right at Stirling. So one of those girls is probably going to get an invite to the podcast so that we can understand.
Or both. Let's just do both. Let's bring them both on.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine with me. Let's talk sprinting guys then, because there's like we just said in our left field tangent, there's a few of them going. So Calvin Fry, Alex Painter. I throw Ed Mildred into the mix as well, even though he's swimming the fly as well, I would have expected. Alex Painter is really making some moves in freestyle sprinting in this country. He trains obviously with Matt Richards at Millfield. He can swim the 50, the 100. Did you know, Dan, he can swim the 2 as well?
I did.
That one caught me by surprise at trials.
Yeah, and actually talking about Calvin Fry, I didn't realise he could do a 149, I think it was, for the 200. I thought he was just an out-and-out sprinter as well. So I think that's the effects that the men's 200 free is having in this country, because the potential of winning Olympic gold is so high. Yeah. Then you're training for the 200 regardless if you're a 50-metre swimmer or a 100-metre swimmer. So, it's going very well. But he is better specialised, if you like, at the 100 and the 50, I would say. And to go 22-1 and come
Alex,
sixth.
yeah.
Yeah, this is about Alex here. 22.1, and he came sixth in that final trial.
Sixth.
What? So, yeah, that was a
He's
very quick race.
close to breaking that 22 barrier. He's been swimming lights out all year. Like I saw him at the Arena League final, which it's a weird competition, Arena League final for these senior guys. But actually, in a 53 showdown with Lewis Burris, he beat him there. I was like, oh, he's going to have a good trials.
Yeah, something is happening at Millfield as well as Sterling. Obviously, we said
know
about the
that.
girls
We
earlier,
know
but
that.
Millfield
is
going right, isn't it? So we obviously you know about Matt and Jimmy, but it seems like Alex Painter, Alex Sargent, these guys are coming through. Emily Large, yeah, something's going right at Millfield. But yeah, Alex Painter, he is definitely one to watch. 48.4 in his 100 at trials as well. So I think there's more to come from him in the 100 as well.
I'm glad Calvin's got an experience as well of a major meet. He's one who's made that transition over from the elite school system in this country. I know he's come from Mount Kelly to Loughborough, but before Mount Kelly, he was at Millfield. So he's been through them all. He's found his home at the Loughborough squad. And it's certainly working for him. He's now in that top sprinting squad alongside like Alex Cahoon, who's off to the Olympics after he's been there for a few years. There's certainly improvements that can be made as you get older in sprinting. I'm looking at these guys and I'm like, Calvin Fry, Alex Painter, Ed Mildred. Is there a fourth here who could do a 4x1 relay? Because that'd be fun. I'm not sure if Jack Skerry could maybe do it. Josh Gammon.
Matt Ward is quite solid. I don't know. I'd probably.
I'm looking at it. I'm like, I'd love to see these guys go a 4x1 and just see what they can throw down.
Especially when all of them have the potential to go 48 points.
Yeah,
I think that's a pretty solid team. You know, that's quite exciting. I didn't really think of that, to be fair.
And then I'm thinking maybe 4x2 as well. You could have the same guys, and Matt Ward can swim a good 200 free as well.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
There's some relay fun here. Like you look at this squad, there isn't really relays in the picture, but I really hope they throw a 4x1 in there and put Matt in the 100.
Yeah,
100 free to back it up.
Yeah, you look at these names, I don't think the girls will do any relays just because Fleur
there's
is
no
a distance swimmer,
breaststrokers, which we'll get to later.
There's no breaststrokers, which is very interesting. Yeah,
we'll get to
I don't know why that is. But going back to that, hopefully they do the relays, but I don't think it's an aim at all. Actually, I think it's all individualised here.
Josh Gammon then. Fly swimmer, first and second in trials in the 200. He won 100. He came second. We talk about experience. If Milak is here, he's going to race the 200 fly against Milak, which is as good an experience in swimming as it gets.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, it'd be very interesting to see how he would attack the 200 fly, because I don't know how Milak is. Obviously, he's been out of the pool for a while, so I don't know how.
He swam a few weeks ago and went 154, I want to say.
Oh, did he? Okay, so he's right up there, the best.
Yeah, no, he's still Milak.
He's still very good. So yeah, I mean, if you can stay with him on the first 100 and see what he's kind of pacing, and then obviously Milak then disappears from the rest of the world on that final 100. So if Josh can kind of stay with him as best as he can, then that's a fantastic experience to gain.
Yeah. Like we say we're taking under 21s for a meet like this to build experience. It doesn't get better than that.
No, exactly.
I really hope he is there, like for the sake of this competition. Otherwise, it's don't know. Like they could be there racing other juniors, and it could literally be the LEN under 23s.
Well, it has the feeling that it could be the case, yeah. But then you have to like you said at the start, Sarah Strostrom could be racing
there.
I mean, that would be an amazing experience for maybe Lucy Grieve if she were to do the 100 fly Strostrom. I don't know if that's a target, mind you.
We can cross our fingers and hope now.
Yes, yeah. I don't know if she's just targeting the freestyles. Again, we've gone on a tangent here. My God, I'm so sorry. Going back to Josh Gammon, I think, again, it's a fantastic experience. The 100 fly will be interesting because I think there could be more to give. I think them.
Yeah, me too.
I think it did go to plan at trials, but I do think there could be another 0.2 or 3 in there to make him go to a 51.5, and then suddenly you're talking good times there. You're looking at the top end of British swimming.
Yeah, we spoke to him at the start of this year, actually, like season, and he was pretty irked that he didn't. Or actually, it was a confidence knock that he didn't get that selection to LEN under 23s, even though he was British champion in the 2 fly. He was last year. So rightfully so, he's kind of put that disappointment behind him, and he gets now it's even better senior selection, let's be honest, than LEN under 23s going to a European champs.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
I think justified and richly deserved after the year he's had. And I'm excited as well for Ed Mildred in the 100 fly as well, because me and you keep discussing this. Like, I'm not sure where the main event is. It's still, where's it coming? It's the 100 fly for me.
Do you reckon it's the 100 fly? It's either that or the 100 free. Because I remember back, when Popovich broke his World Junior record again in Rome, that really quick pull.
Yeah.
And it kind of went under the radar because Ed actually came second, I think, and he went 48 mid or something like that. Yeah, European juniors. And I thought that was the kickstart. I thought Ed was going to then kick on, but it hasn't quite. I know he's made the move to Bath, and that does take a bit of time to get used to the transition. But yeah, I'm much like you. Is it the freestyle? Is it the fly? Is it both? Hopefully it's both, because then he kind of covers both bases. But I'm still waiting for a bit of a spark from him. It's going to happen. Hopefully it happens. But he's still 21. Still got time. Yeah.
Well, nice segue. While we're talking Bath, then let's go to the two backstrokers, Jack Skerry and Matt Ward. Probably like quietly a very, very good meet at Olympic trials. Like, obviously when Ollie Morgan, Johnny Marshall, Luke Greenbank are doing what they're doing in the backstroke, you're never going to get the limelight that you quite deserve for your swims. But Matt Ward to be going, he went a 54.1. The two back, he's under 2 minutes again. Jack Skerry, 54.5, right behind Matt. And then two back, he actually beat Matt to go a 158. So both of those guys are on the rise. Matt is only 19. Jack Skerry's only 20. Yeah. There's backstroke talent in Britain. And for these to be the two picked for European Championships shows what a good year they've had.
Yeah, I mean, Matt was very close. No, he did break it, sorry. He broke the age group record for that 100 backstroke, didn't he?
Yeah, he was 18 at the time. Yeah, he's 19
He really
now.
wanted to go sub 54, which I think he probably will do come these Europeans, which I think will be a big barrier to break. But yeah, I think obviously going under 2 minutes for 200 IM, which I believe he has actually done once before, has he not? I could be wrong there.
Ooh. Fact check time over. His PB actually was from British Champs, where he went a 2.16. 2 minutes,
just over 2 minutes. So yeah, if he can break that 2 minute barrier, that'd be obviously a big, because there's a few barriers that he's got to try and break here, which I think will be his number one aim, as well as gaining experience. And then Jack Skerry, who's actually quietly swimming quite well right now, because he's actually starting to beat some of these top guys, is he not?
Yeah, I think he had a really good Bucks season for Bath. I wouldn't say it was like quietly under the radar. I think he's certainly been on our list of swimmers who's moving through in the backstroke, even though there's like 20 of them.
Oh, there's loads, isn't there? It's exciting, right?
Yeah, it's really exciting. And like I said, for these two to be picked ahead of, Cam Brooker, John O'Adams, they're all under 21, I think.
They're thereabouts, yep.
It's a show of confidence that, look, you guys had a good trials. Go race Europeans.
Well, it's almost like winner stays on type thing.
A little bit, yeah.
So yeah, I like that idea, and it makes the swimmers perform better at certain meets, because then if you swim well there, then you get the chance to race again elsewhere, and this happens to be Europeans this time around. So yeah, exciting backstrokers on the sort of let's say fringe level after your Lukes and Ollies and Johnny Marshalls, I suppose. So hopefully they do well.
Now, I've saved this swimmer till last, Dan, for a reason. Because I think Leah Schlosshan might be the star of this European Championships for Aquatics GB, because she's got a massive chance to come away with multiple gold medals, given the fact that actually she's not racing against the Brits, which has always been like a little bit of a stumbling block for her when she's done Europeans before, like European short course end of last year. The 200 IM, well, she was third in the heats behind Abby and Katie, but because of the two swimmers qualifying rule, she missed out.
Yeah.
So this time she's racing the 2 IM, probably the 100 breaststroke and the 2 free, maybe even the 2 breaststroke. Like, we don't have a confirmed schedule.
We don't know, yeah.
But when you finish fourth at British Champs in the 2 IM with a 2:11, I think you've got a great shot of a gold medal here. And I think, could she get below that 2:10 mark? I don't know.
Well, I'm going to put her in the same category as Fleur, where I think she wanted to swim faster at trials. Like, she came out of most races just sort of I could have done a bit better. But even though 2:11 is still good going for a 200 IM.
She almost beat Katie Shanahan in that.
She did, absolutely right, yeah. And 100 breaststroke, I know she's dealing with Cara and Ang Harrods, those girls capable of going 66s, you know. So, she's in a hard couple of events when it comes to the British standard. But, the 200 IM, 2:10 you say? I mean, quite possibly. I think there was more to give
see it.
when you're comparing her swims from trials, which again, I mean, that's where I think she's got this opportunity to race again at an international level. So that's why I think her and Fleur are kind of in the same boat, where they were on PB, but I think there's more to come.
Definitely. Like, even that 2-3 where she went a 1:58.9 to finish 5th. Like, she's incredibly, like, you look back, actually, she's unlucky to not make the relay team. Like, if there hadn't been some consideration times elsewhere, if Freya Anderson wasn't deemed fit enough because of illness, Leah probably would have gone.
Yeah. Oh, she's there or thereabouts. She just
really
needs that
close
little sort of almost kick over the edge, and then she's there. So, exciting to see how she does. Yeah, definitely.
Now, before we get talking the open water swimmers, I just want to bring up one thing from this squad going forwards. Is it a worry that there's no breaststrokers bar Leah Schlosshan, who's an IM swimmer, in this like developmental moving forward squad? There's no male breaststroker, and there's no real like out and out female breaststroke as well. Like, yes, we've got Adam, Wilby, Greg Butler. There's no next wave coming through other than, I mean, there's some fantastic 16-year-olds coming through, but is there going to be that little lull in British swimming maybe?
Well, would they be going to European Juniors? I just wonder if they're targeting that
definitely
one
would be.
Just because they're 16, 17, and it might be just a little bit too early for them.
Okay.
I know Matt Ward is 19, and so, but that's an extra 2 years, like extra on training loads and stuff like that, and more experience. So I don't know if their juniors would just be the target. I don't know if it's just a coincidence that there just happens to be no breaststrokers apart from Leah. I don't know if that's
maybe.
just
I think it's
the way
been like
it
this
is.
for a few years. Oh, I guess actually Archie Goodburn went to Elion and the 23s last year. And okay, yeah, maybe I'm reading too much into it. Like it's a shame. Like, looking at this squad, there's no breaststroker to swim a medley relay. Like Matt Ward backstroke or Jack Skerry,
That's just it.
breaststroker.
I just don't know
Josh
if
Gammon
relays is just not in the thought process at all. I think it's all just individual events and just gaining experience that way.
But is that weird?
Well,
Does that go against?
Yes.
That go against the logic of Aquatics GB that they've had for this whole Olympic cycle, which is the relays bring the most chance of medals?
No, I completely agree.
Why?
Yeah, no, there should.
Okay.
I think there should be relays at every major competition, and Europeans being one of them. I think there should be relays. Like for example, I know Leah can do the breaststroke, but you could have Sienna Robinson do the breaststroke, for example.
Yeah.
So I don't know
Maybe
why.
that's a bigger question of why there's not a breaststroke. Why are the relays not maybe a little bit more targeted? Like, why would you not take one more 200 freestyler or one more 100 freestyler so that you can swim these relays?
Not sure, because there are names to add, and I don't know why they kept.
I think
it
that's
as small
probably the
as 10.
biggest disappointment from this squad. Maybe
Yeah.
the relays haven't been given the props that clearly Aquatics GB are targeting.
Yeah, odd. We don't know the answer. Hopefully, we'll try and find out. But we don't know the answer.
Okay, so like we said in the intro, we've talked through the 10 swimmers who are going in the pool, but there's also 3 going in the open water. On this podcast, we've not actually talked too much about marathon open water swimming since they qualified. So I think it's time we give them a little bit of a spotlight in this moment and talk about it a little bit more, because there's a strong possibility that these guys can challenge medals, top 10, top 5.
Always. Yeah.
When it comes to Paris.
Yeah.
And they're going to be racing a lot now between now and Paris, from what we've heard. They're fully focusing on that open water circuit. All of them are in Seville this weekend racing. Lovely place to go race.
I know. God, they go to some lovely places.
I know, right?
Especially the Portugal place, of which I can never remember the name. But that's
Setúbal.
Setúbal, yes, that's always a standout place for these guys. Yeah, it's very exciting. I think when you look at these names, they're always around that sort of top 10, top 15. They're always there or thereabouts. But then you watch an open water race, and they're all packed together. So you might be first and you might be 15th, but you're actually in the same pack. So it's all very, very close, and it always comes down to a sprint, just like it does in the 1500, for example, in the last 50. So you just got to have that endurance behind you, but then also have the sprint at the end. I think Hector is probably the one who's been performing at the higher level, let's say, just because of the medal that he won very recently.
At Worlds.
At Worlds, of course, yes. And then Leah's kind of new to the scene, isn't she? So I'd love to see how she gets on.
We spoke to her coach, Jamie Main, at trials, and I think she's racing now between now and Paris, almost as much as she's raced her whole marathon career so far.
Mental.
So over the next, like, how far away from Paris are we? Like 3 months?
Where are we? May?
Might not even be that. It might be 2 months.
Yeah.
No, it's 3 months. Cool. 3 months until Paris. She's actually going to be racing like 6 times open water. I think all 3 of these are 5 or 6 times, which is a massive amount of meters to race. But like I said, experience-wise, getting to know your field that you're going to be racing in Paris is going to be key. And getting your tactics down, these open water skills, because you can't teach half this stuff in the pool.
Yeah, I think that's majority of it is the tactics. Like they will do the training in the pool or in the lakes or wherever they go, and the meters and the volume will already be there. But it's the tactics around who you are racing.
Do you see Hector's meters that he did at Flagstaff as well?
Yes. Oh, insane, isn't it? It's mental.
He did something like 113 kilometers in a week at altitude.
Yeah,
which is ridiculous, like usually the volume comes down slightly. Because it's an incredibly tough place to train.
Yeah.
But God, no.
Yeah, and I'm sure Toby will be there or thereabouts as well, because obviously he's been at altitude quite a bit as well. So yeah, very exciting. And then of course we had the news that Alice Deering has now retired as well. I suppose open waters have been put in the spotlight even more because of her. So and these are the next 3 to take their spot, her spot, if you like. So yeah.
We'll be keeping a very close eye on their results over the next few weeks, wherever they're racing, like Seville this weekend. We'll share how they get on, and we'll make sure everyone's following that progress, because, when it comes to racing in the dirty Seine that they will be doing in Paris,
that's if it goes
whether
ahead,
it even goes ahead there or not at this point is another conversation.
I mean, hopefully it does. I'd love to see these guys race, and obviously open water it's a long swim, but it's just like a normal running marathon. It takes a while, but it's actually quite a good spectacle. So it would be a massive
especially
shame.
Down the river in Paris. Can you imagine? How close
exactly.
you can actually get to watching
get
it.
the drone shots going, and amazing. Yeah. Hopefully it does happen, because I don't know how the river is.
It's not great on pollution levels right now, is it?
It's not ideal.
It's not a good thing to hear, but hopefully, you know, there's like a drought or something, so the sewages don't overflow. Who knows? Okay, so that just about rounds up our podcast this week, talking through the European Champs team. If there are any swimmers that you think are maybe a little bit unlucky not to be going, especially considering there's spaces available, like they're only taking 10. Maybe some relay swimmers that could have actually made up some pretty exciting young teams, like we said previously. Let us know in the comments section on YouTube. If not, me and Dan are back next week with our guest of an Olympic swimmer. I let it slip like in this podcast. It's Honey Osrin, which is a really, really interesting conversation given her background in the sport, how she got to the Olympics. She actually could have swam at the Olympic Games for a different country, which is really interesting to hear why she chose Aquatics GB. That will be here in the following Thursday, but given that this announcement came out, we thought it was right to give these swimmers their props and attention that they probably didn't get off the back of champs that a lot of them deserved.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And the fact that most of them finished either in the 3rd, 4th, 5th area at trials, I think it probably is right that they got selected. But I do think there are some names to be added, which is a bit of a shame from that point of view. But let's end on a positive. I think these guys, actually, there could be a number of swimmers here, maybe like 2 or 3, have good chance of actually winning European medals. Quite exciting times, I think.
It's going to keep us very busy with the clash with Sette Colli.
Oh, yes.
Covering and letting everyone know what's going on. Great fun. Okay, so that just about rounds up this week's episode. If you haven't subscribed already on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, please do so. And me and Dan will see you guys in 7 days' time with Honey Osrin.
Yeah, thank you for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next one.
You've been listening to the Propulsion Swimming Podcast with Scott and Dan. We want to thank you for joining us and invite you to subscribe to the show, as well as checking out the Propulsion Swimming YouTube channel for weekly tutorials and videos to get your swimming fix. We will be back next week. Until then, we'll catch you on the next one.